Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to the talk am Tresen here in the Xampanyeria, talking about chimpanzees. And very warm welcome, Dr. Jane Goodall.
Thank you.
You were the very first human being that had a close contact to chimpanzees in their natural habitat. If I would be a chimp, how would you say hello to me?
If we were close up, I would go. But if I'm greeting those people down the other far away, I would be.
Yes. How would they say, I really don't like you? So simple. Okay. This is David on your left side. This is Kati. And how would you say, hey, David, you are really cool in chimpanzees?
Well, really cool. It means that you wouldn't get attacked. I wouldn't attack you. And also, there's a big difference between males and females. So if I'm the female and you're the male and you want to say you're cool, you probably come and poke my bottom and sniff your finger.
Should we do this or not? Oh, you get red. Maybe not.
Sometimes I go to one of these really smart, horrible, people are very uptight and they've got bow ties and black suits and they're stiff. I'm giving a little talk before the dinner. And then at the end I say, if we were chimpanzees waiting for food and suddenly the food is about to come, and I say, stand up. I say, okay, I want you to do what chimpanzees do, and I want you to do this to the person on each side of you. And so the food is coming, and I'm all excited, so... Come on, I've got to do it to you. Come on, everybody.
Everybody can do it.
Come on.
They are shy. They are shy chimpanzee. Oh, yeah.
No, not to me, to your neighbor. They're hopeless.
You said once they manipulate each other. How do they do it?
Well, if you're a male, then some males have a very, very strong motivation to get to the top of the hierarchy. If you get to be the top alpha male, you have an advantage. You probably can sire more offspring, and you can boss it over the others. And the males have different ways of getting to the top. Some of them use brute strength. They swagger, they bunch their lips in furious scowls, they stand upright, they bristle their hair. They're exactly like some human male politicians. No difference. But others...
Who do you have in your mind now?
Oh, that's for everybody to think, not me to say. And you know exactly who I've got in my mind. But others are much more manipulative. So some of them make an ally, and they only tackle or threaten a higher-ranking male if the ally is there. And so they manage to get to the top through forming alliances. And some of them just persist and persist in what they do. If grooming is very important. When you groom another, it's friendship. So every time these smart ones see two higher-ranking males grooming, charge through and disrupt it. And in the end, everybody is so tired of this tactic that they say, all right, let him get to the top, we don't care. I was very nervous when I got to Cambridge. To be told by so many professors that I'd done everything wrong, I shouldn't have given the chimps names, they should have had numbers. I could talk about personality, minds capable of problem solving, certainly not emotions. Those were unique to us. And that's, my dog had already taught me as a child that they were wrong. Totally wrong. We're not the only beings on this planet with personalities, minds, and feelings. And now, young people, it's a very exciting time. They can study all these things.
Of course, yeah.
I couldn't have studied them because they didn't exist. People have said that because I say chimp dominance displays are like some male politicians, that therefore I'm comparing Donald Trump with a chimpanzee. And quite honestly, that would be extremely belittling to the chimpanzees. For the situation in Africa, I thought, well, I have to go and see with my own eyes what's happening to the chimps. And I managed to get to 7 different range countries. I learned not only about the problems faced by the chimpanzees, the bushmeat trade, shooting mothers to sell babies overseas, the chimpanzees caught with snares set by hunters to catch antelopes and things, human populations growing, moving deeper into the forest. But I also learned about the problems facing so many humans living in and around chimpanzee habitat, the terrible, terrible poverty, the lack of health and education. And flying over Little Gombe, which had been part of this forest belt that stretched right across Africa. When I began in 60, it was the same in 70. But by the late 80s, when I flew over, I was shocked to see Gombe. It was a tiny island of forest, and all the forest that had been around it was gone. It was bare hills. And that's when it hit me. If we can't help these people to find ways of living without destroying their environment, we can't even hope to save the chimps.
Do you have hope for the future?
Well, to go back to what happened at Gombe, realizing the poverty of the people. So the Jane Goodall Institute started a program, Take Care Otakari, and it's very holistic. It's restoring fertility to the overused farmland. It's helping them have better health and education facilities. It's providing scholarships to keep girls in school beyond puberty, because all around the world, as women's education improves, family size tends to drop. It's providing family planning information. And this has been so successful that what started with 12 villages around Gombe is now in 104 villages throughout the whole chimp range. Each one of these now has provided 1 or 2 volunteers who go to workshops that we provide. They learn how to use smartphones, even if they can't read or write. They go into their forests and they record what they have jointly decided they should record, which is illegally cut trees, animal traps, sighting of a chimp or a pangolin or a leopard. And this all goes up into a platform on the clouds, Global Forest Watch. And these people have now become our partners in conservation because they understand that protecting the forest and the environment is not just to protect wildlife, but their own future. And that program is now in 6 other African countries around chimpanzee habitat.
You choose Magdeburg for your holiday.
Well, yes, I did have 2 days that were meant to be free. And I said, well, I want to go back to Magdeburg. Partly, I love the cathedral. I find the carvings and things in there are completely amazing. But also because of your zoo. You have a really good zoo.
Hey! And we have also a very good director of this zoo, I think.
Kai Parrott.
Yes, Kai. Our friend. We produce a statue. Do you see it?
Oh, yes.
Who could it be?
I wonder.
Do you think Germans are funny?
Do I think Germans are funny? Well, their reputation in Britain is to be rather dour, but I have many German friends, and they can be very funny.
You said you bring your family with you. Would you introduce your family?
Yes, I will introduce my family. First of all, I already mentioned that, scientists used to think only humans had intellect capable of solving problems. Pigs can be as intelligent as dogs. And if you want to have a real smile, after this, Google not Picasso the artist, but Pigcasso. And you will absolutely love it. And then rats turn out to be extremely intelligent. And if you don't believe that, look up 5 smart rats. Google it. Ignore ways to kill 5 smart rats. Ignore that. But Ratty is illustrating the giant forest rat of Tanzania. and they have been trained to detect the smell of the explosive and landmines. And in Africa, there are so many countries, as the aftermath of civil war, there are landmines buried. I've met so many people who've lost a foot or a leg, and these rats can detect. So they're just amazing. The latest craze in animal intelligence is the octopus, and this is Octavia. She's the most recent arrival in my family that I carry around the world. And again, you can Google octopus and coconut shells or octopus and clam shells. You'll be completely amazed to see how amazingly intelligent octopus are. And I have to get a bird because crows turn out to be able to do some problems faster than 8-year-old humans. They are amazing, and parrots too. I could tell you stories about parrots. Oh, they're so wonderful, but I don't think we have time. And cow is a rather different story. Cow is illustrating the fact that all around the world, billions and billions of animals are in conditions that a Holocaust survivor has labeled as animal concentration camps. And they're there because more and more people want to eat more and more meat. You need to know that to feed these billions and billions of animals, whole areas of environment are destroyed to grow the grain. More grain is now grown to feed animals, to feed us, than to feed starving people. Water, which in some places is really, really scarce. Groundwater is scarce. More water is used to change vegetable to animal protein than makes sense. And added to that, these creatures, when they are digesting this food, they create a gas, and that's methane. And methane is one of the main greenhouse gases that, along with carbon dioxide, circling the planet, making a blanket, trapping the heat of the sun. Cows have feelings. Cows, if they're left on their own, have really bonds with their offspring. When babies are taken away from cows, as they are, there is screaming and crying, and I've heard it, and it hurts your heart. And then Mr. H, he's been with me 29 years, given to me by a man called Gary Horn, who lost his eyesight at 21, decided to become a magician, was told, but Gary, you can't be a magician if you're blind. He said, well, I can try. And he does shows for kids, and at the end he'll say, things may go wrong in your life, we never know. But if they do, don't give up, there's always a way forward. And he does scuba diving, cross-country skiing, skydiving. I mean, personally, I think jumping out of an aeroplane is stupid. But jumping out of an aeroplane when you can't see anything is crazy. But personally, I think the most important thing he's done is to learn to paint. He's done a little book called Blind Artist. You can only get it on Amazon. And in it is a portrait of Mr. H, whom he's never seen, only felt, and it is the most extraordinary painting. So he illustrates the indomitable human spirit, the people who tackle what seems impossible and succeed. That's my animal family.
Have you met Diane Fossey, and what do you think about her work?
Well, I knew Diane Fossey really, really well. I mean, Lewis chose me, and then Diane, and then Barute to do the orangutans. And unfortunately, Diane refused to listen to when I begged her to involve the local people in her study, because we've always had Tanzanians helping to follow the chimps. They know them as individuals. They talk about them in the villages. We haven't had any poaching. But Diane felt that if anybody got close to the gorillas, it would make it the job for the poacher easier. And so she refused to let any of her people anywhere near the gorillas. And I think that's why she died.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do. They don't overpopulate their environment like we do.
What should we do?
Well, what should we do? That's the big question. I mean, right now there's 7.2 billion people on the planet, and already in some areas we're using up more natural resources than nature can replenish. In 2050, it's predicted there'll be 9.7 billion people. How will nature cope? I mean, the point is we must talk about it. And so far people bury it under the carpet because politically insensitive. But it's a fact. We can't ignore it.
Any solutions?
Well, we provide family planning in Tanzania. And when we began, the average woman expected to have 8 to 10 children. Now she expects to have 2 to 4. I think everybody in this room probably knows what we're doing to the planet, about the pollution, the reckless burning of fossil fuels, the eating of too much meat, the production by the animals of methane, the pollution of the ocean, the destruction of the forest, the 2 great lungs of the world. We know about these things. So as I was traveling around the world meeting young people who seemed to have lost hope, many of them were just apathetic. Most of them really didn't seem to care, but some of them were angry and even violent, and some of them were deeply, deeply depressed, even clinically depressed. And when I began talking to them, why do you feel like this? Well, you've compromised our future and there's nothing we can do about it. And you know, there's a saying, we haven't inherited this planet from our ancestors. We've borrowed it from our children. But we haven't been borrowing their future, we've been stealing it. And so when the young people said there's nothing we can do about it, I thought, no, we have a window of time. If we get together, we can do something to at least slow down climate change and slow down the extinction of animals and plants. And so I began this program, Roots and Shoots, in 1991. And it's now in 63 countries, growing fast in Germany. And the main message, every single one of us makes an impact on the planet every single day. And we have a choice.